I've got 3 great tips for you today. One of them is about half square triangles and quarter square triangles. The second is about bias binding versus straight of grain. And the third is about how to make your own quilt sleeve the easy way. So let's get started.
You can find this ruler you want to do is you want to place your ruler from corner to corner with the middle of the ruler lining up with each corner. In this video, I'm going to show you how to make half square triangles and quarter square triangles using the half. Once you have your ruler in position, now you will take a marking pencil and you will draw lines on either side of the squares. Your squares, by the way, will be used red thread so you can see the lines that I have sewn. Now I'm going to take my ruler square. I'm going to now sew on those two pencil right directly down the middle. I am going to cut these two sides apart. Now we have perfect 1/4 inch seams on our half square triangles, and this is a handy chart that is going to show you measurements for both half square triangles and quarter square triangles. The first column shows you the size of the triangles in their finished size as they will be in a quilt. The second column shows you the size of squares you will need to cut in order to make these triangles. And the third column shows you the size you will trim your unit after you have square triangle sizes that you will need. There will be a link below so that you can download this chart for yourself. Take a moment and carefully place your seams together directly on top of each other. And I am going to place a pin, making sure those seams are lined up very accurately.
And if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like and subscribe.
We will once again pick up our half-inch ruler, and we're going to again place it so that the diagonal line in the middle lines up from corner to corner, and we are going to mark with a pencil on both sides of the ruler. Again, the pencil lines are the sewing lines, so we're going to take this back to our sewing machine and sew on those lines.
You can order the half square magic wand ruler at quiltedturtle.com.
And again, you will see that I used red thread so you can see where my sew lines are. I'm now going to cut with the rotary cutter and a ruler directly in between these two seams. So each of our sides will have our 1/4 inch seam, and when we open them up, we now have quarter square triangles. As simple as that. So this magic wand ruler is fantastic for half square triangles and for quarter square triangles.
And if you're enjoying this video, please hit the like and subscribe. Now I want to talk about bias binding as opposed to straight of grain binding. And let me show you what I mean. These are 2 different ways to bind. You'll hear a lot about bias, but there's also, you can straight of grain bias. And in fact, first way I learned how to do binding, and it works. There's just a couple advantages to the bias, but this way all you do is you're going to cut your 2.5 strips from the width of fabric straight across your fabric, just like you would when you're cutting squares and strips for the quilt. They're supposed to be strong, very strong as the bias. They're supposed to be very durable. And I do know that when it comes to the straight of grain is considered more basic, more plain, easy to do. But the bias, once you start quilting quite a bit, the bias is the one you're going to want for things that are done more professionally or things that you're going to have judged. This will be something they will look for, and it's really easy to do. So those are the differences between using that when you fold this and sew it on your sewing machine and bend it down to the other side. You have a nice binding, and the corners behave exactly the same way. Here's where my corner would be, and you can see I can get that. I go up to get my nice 45-degree angle. I come back down to get my straight, and here's my corner that will turn into a nice folded corner on the other side. That all works exactly the same. Now let me tell you the differences for bias. Using the bias is you have better maneuverability with it. So what that means is, since I'm cutting the bias strips on the 45-degree angle of my fabric, that means straight of grain you get this nice tight, doesn't go anywhere feel. Bias, you get some stretch. You can feel it stretching. And we don't want to stretch it, but that comes into our favor later when we're doing the binding, because it will lay flatter as you are sewing it on. It's just, once you get it to the machine and onto the edge of the quilt, it just lays better for you when you're sewing it on. And the advantage of that is, not only, let's say you have something with a scalloped edge, anything that's curvy, you're going to want this bias because that flexibility will make it curve around really nicely as you're finishing the edge that has curves on it. Straight of grain binding versus bias binding. Right now I have a quilt that I have finished that I need to put a sleeve on the back so that I can hang it up so that I can show you on a quilt hanger. Now you will need to do this if you're going to be putting any quilt, if you're going to be submitting any quilt to quilt contests, quilt shows in your area, and sleeves can be very, very simple. I'm going to show you one of my easiest ways to do sleeves. I have right here that I'm going to use for this one. This is an old sheet, and I am going to go ahead and use this for creating a sleeve on the back. What I'm going to do is, top of this has already the top of the sheet that has been folded over and sewed here to make the cuff. I'm going to use that very same cuff, and I'm just going to cut this off here. It's a perfect size for the sleeve for the back of my quilt, and because it's a sheet, it's going to be plenty long enough. So I'm going to simply take this right now. Going to cut it right along that sleeve area. It's already been sewn. Now remember, this is going to be on the back of your quilt, so it doesn't have to be super pretty. So all I'm going to do now, so I've cut it off, I have this ready-made sleeve ready to go. All I'm going to do now is put it on the back of my quilt, and I'm going to just do a stitch by hand, very simple whip stitch on the top and on the bottom, and that's going to give me the place where the bar can be slid in for this to be hung onto a bar.